Are we recording? I think we're recording. Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a new training that I had recently about, doing cold sales and all that kind of thing. And they broke it down in this super simple framework. And I was like, well, how can I make a YouTube video that kind of explains that for the wedding sales that I do? And that's what I want to talk about today. So let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Once again, welcome back to the channel. My name is Scott King. I run a DJ company in Orlando, Florida. If you want to check that out, www.djsorlando.com. I also have a coaching business website right there. Check it out, www.coachscottking.com. And if you find the information on this YouTube channel successful, please share, like, subscribe, do the comment thing. It really does help me, grow and teach and help more people become successful. So basically, today I want to talk about, the framework for doing a wedding sales. There's a lot of different things I've seen, people say in the Facebook groups, and I just sit back and kind of chuckle. Like there was one time there was like, oh yeah, I'd do an hour for a sales call. And I'm like, if it takes you an hour to do all that, explaining, then what's really going on there? So I've got a simple, framework for you. Let's get into it. So it looks like, 6 steps here to kind of, keep in mind as you're working along the way, right? So if you're all over the place every time you have a sales call, then it'll be kind of hard to track your success. Or if you're not presenting the information in a similar fashion when you're sitting down, with client after client after client, and then you're presenting information a certain way, and then you're getting questions and feedback, depending on how you deliver that information, you'll be able to adjust if you're always swinging the bat, with the same type of mentality that you were using with every single person that you sit down with. So it's important to understand the framework. And again, there's probably a million of different types of frameworks out there for you to follow. And yet if you follow a certain framework and are able to collect that information so that you can be beneficial for your leads who probably don't know who you are, or maybe they're kind of warmed up, that you can, be more successful when you sit down with somebody. So again, we're back here. We got 6 different steps to follow. And a lot of people think when they hop on a sales call, the first thing is we're going to go right to the sale, right? Let's settle down here a little bit. In fact, let's go to the next slide, which is, the icebreaker. Let's have a minute of chit chat and kind of like warm up with somebody, so that you're not just looking at them like, a piece of meat, or you're just another, number on a piece of paper or something like that. But, ask about, their proposal story if you want, how'd you guys meet, or how did the engagement go? If you wanted to lighten up the mood, be like, oh, well, normally what I say is, well, I see you guys are getting married. Well, congratulations. And then, they get a little warmed up and say, yeah, I know. It's a big day of my life. Well, I'm so happy I'm here to talk to you about our services to make that day even more special. You could talk about other venues or vendors that they've talked to, how's the planning going? Where are you from? Those kind of things. Being in Orlando, everybody has like a lot of different stories. Sometimes they come to Orlando just to get engaged, and that could be something to talk about as well. Or a destination wedding. You want to find out these details. If they're from somewhere else and they're just coming down here to get married, probably going to Disney after that, you'd want to know these kind of things. So maybe open up with a question, something like that, if you're in a tourist destination. Yet with that in mind, right? That was step number 1, chit chat. You only want to spend like a minute or so saying, hey, well, thanks for giving us a call. And yet you still are a business owner. So you want to make sure that you're, getting back to business, right? You got many other things to take care of because you run a successful business, and there's emails and phone calls coming in. So, you want to make sure that you frame the next part, right? So once you kind of warmed up, be like, hey, look, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I really do appreciate it. These calls, they go like 20, 25 minutes, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of your time with me here today. And on top of that, I'm the professional, or you don't have to say that, right? Like, you could just say, I've helped over 300 people on a yearly basis have amazing weddings, and I'd love to do the same for you. So let's get into it. And then like your step number 2, like you want to make sure that you set the frame, and then you get their consent, right? Like at the end of that speech, you would say, well, I've helped over 300 people yearly, and I'd love to present to you the information. Does that sound fair? And normally my line goes something along the lines is, are you ready for the spiel? And they'll say yes. That's the reason they called or set up the Zoom call to begin with, right? So once you get consent, then you can go into whatever the pitch is or whatever you've prepared. And this is a little bit something that I prepared. So once we get into step number 3, right, make sure you got the date, which you should be able to collect this stuff ahead of time. And then approximately how many guests, because with me personally, like I usually say our sound system covers up to about 200 people, but if you're going to have like a 500 person wedding, I'd normally suggest like a higher sound system or something like that. And then you go to number 3, do you have a vision? Have you thought about it? Have you talked to other DJs? Are you familiar with, what kind of services DJs offer? That kind of thing. And then there's another question I like to ask, because we live in Florida. Are you looking for someone who's bilingual? Because that is something that people ask for all the time. Being in Orlando, we are a mecca. People come from all over the place. Sometimes they're looking for bilingual DJs and Brazilian, somebody who can speak Portuguese, Spanish, that kind of thing. So, of course, I have people like that on my roster, and I can start to, put that in my mind as we're having the conversation. So, again, let's recap, right? Number 1, chit chat. Make sure you're saying hi to everybody, warming up people, especially when could be talking to just the bride or talking to both people, in the relationship. You have 2 different angles that you're working with, and yet maybe crack a joke or something like that. I'm always good with jokes. It just kind of depends how the conversation's going. So, you want to, if you can, lighten up the mood. And then after that, you're on to step number 4, right? Like after you've said, you're ready for the spiel, they'll say something like, yep, we're good to go. So again, you just walk them through the day of all the different things that you happen. And typically on a wedding, they're getting married at 4. So we say, hey, look, we show up at 2. We're setting ready to go for the ceremony at 4 or 3. You'd be showing up at 1. Cocktail hours normally from 4 to 5, and then your first dance is happening at 6:30, something like that, and everybody's done by 10 o'clock. And throughout this whole pitch, you're just talking about all the things that you're doing throughout the day. So normally I'll say, hey, look, we show up 2 hours before the start of the ceremony, and we're set and ready to go in all 3 locations, meaning your ceremony, cocktail, and reception, 30 minutes before you walk down the aisle. For the ceremony setup, it's a separate system, so you don't have to worry about us, not having, music going for your cocktail hour, because normally we're just tearing down, the ceremony, and then that cocktail hour speaker has a microphone attached to it. So if we have to herd the cats from one spot to another spot, it's pretty easy to do. Once we get them in the reception area, we get them all settled in, we come out and line up your bridal party, and basically it's me telling the guys, put the shots down, it's time to get in there. We'll let them know what the drill is, and then we'll go out, do bridal party introductions. If you're unfamiliar with those, we have those on our YouTube channel. You can check those out. And then normally you come in for a first dance, and then we have wireless microphones for toast blessing speeches. Our DJs are self-contained, meaning we bring our own table, microphone, and party lights are included, sound system for up to 200 people, and the timeline is basically how you want it to go. We send you the forms, and you say whether you want to do the parent dances before or after dinner, basically just showcasing that you've done this, many times to make them feel at ease. And you don't want to sound super rushed, just had a caffeine drink, that's why I kind of talking fast. Yet at the same time, you make sure you get through all the material. And then you tell them, hey, look, it's going to take an hour for dinner. And then normally you have your toast before or after dinner. And then after that, you're off to the races for dance time. And then for as far as music selection goes, hey, look, you tell us how you want it to go. I usually say clients fit into 1 of 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 is, we've made this specific list and don't veer from the plan, which is fine. We charge for time or per event, so you just made the job easier. Bucket number 2 is, hey, look, here's some stuff we like and here's some stuff we don't like. Kind of run with that, which is fine. That just made the job a little bit easier. And then there's bucket number 3 where they're like, hey, look, we're planning a wedding. We got things to do. You think you can handle the music? Which is cool too, because sometimes I give these, playlist, or I ask for a playlist, and then sometimes brides get overwhelmed, and I'm like, hey, look, you don't have to give us one. It's just, because we do over 300 weddings a year, some people are more particular than others, and some think it's, overwhelming, and others think it's, part of the deal. So it all kind of depends on, who you have in front of you, right? And I'm always about booking as many people as possible. So just kind of keep that in mind. You walk through the day. And then, of course, we got the next part, right? You kind of show and showcase everything that you have. Maybe go to the website, check out some of the social media posts that you've done. Me personally, I spend Mondays just hammering out posts that we did for the weekend, and I schedule them out throughout the throughout the month kind of thing. So they can go to any of our, social media accounts and make sure they can check out different events that we've done. And on top of that, we have an email army sent out to all of our leads at all times. So it's kind of hard not to see our quality of work, right? So with that in mind, they should already be warmed up. If not, they got an army of emails or a tsunami of emails headed their way. Either they've already got them or they're coming to here in the near future. So with all that in mind, maybe you missed a few parts, or maybe they had questions that you weren't able to cover. Or again, the more calls you have, you just wrap that into the next sales call that you have. Right? Like, oh, I never had that question before. Let me just hit that the next time I have a sales call. And if you've done a couple thousand of them, it just kind of rattles off, right? So again, what questions do you have so far? And then they'll ask you. Normally it's like, well, how much do you charge? And again, so basically they'll hit me up. I'll say schedule a Zoom call or give us a phone call, and they haven't gotten our prices yet. So basically I've just talked about all the services. I've created a connection, and then I won't give them the prices until they've gotten to this point. Basically, I've had a chance to give my spiel. I've had a chance to educate them on what we do. And then from there, I can give prices. May change moving forward because I'm working on another project. That's just what it is right now. And again, I've had tremendous success with this formula. So I applaud you to do the same. So what questions do you have so far? Basically, just I'll stop and listen and answer any questions that they have, and then showcase anything that I can do to make that question, set them at ease type thing. And then based on what you've shared, connect with their solutions, right? So anything that they may need or customization, if you can do it, make sure to address that. And if not, maybe it's not a good fit, and that's okay as well. But most times, if I've been on a call, we get to this part, which is here, the close. Present what makes most sense for them. So for the most part, this is where you talk about, your upsells, right? Well, regular DJ package is this. If you're going to have a ceremony cocktail reception, we charge X, Y, and Z. And then, of course, there's add-ons from there, right? If you want uplights, if you want, screens, if you want cold sparks, cloud dance, X, Y, and Z, photo booth is a popular one. Make sure to mention all these things so that they're not, looking for other vendors, right? For the services that you may offer. So with all that in mind, there you are. You're onto the close. You would add things up depending on what they wanted, and then send them a contract, tell them what your retainer fee is, and then as soon as they sign the contract, they have a retainer fee, and then you lock in the date and move from there. I have a whole video training series that kind of slows this whole process down and really breaks down sleight of mouth. It really breaks down the whole framing of everything that I do. I have extra calls that I've recorded all on the website right here. If you wanted to purchase, scripts, if you want a one-on-one coaching with this kind of thing, I'm here for you. So basically, again, hit me up. www.coachscottking.com. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next one.